So today we're going to talk about a dangerous conversation part 2. Last week we talked about a dangerous conversation, and today we're going to do like the how to get down in dangerous, the hows. But before I start that, I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to give you some scenarios and ask which one you think is dangerous or which one you think it's okay, you can probably deal with. So the first one, we have a guy on a boat just chilling and looking out into the water. How many of you think that is dangerous? Unless you can't swim or you don't like boats. Okay, next we have this image. We just add a tiger in that scene. How many of you think that is a dangerous situation? No, but one person? So the rest of you would like, okay. Another situation here, we have someone stroking a fluffy a doll with like pencil eyes or something. How many of you think that's a dangerous situation? Okay, how about this then when we up it a bit and put something else there? How many of you think that is dangerous? Okay, a few more people. There are people here who can stroke tigers. I didn't know. And lastly, we have this image of a couple of people who seem to be afraid of a green screen. But how about this other image? How many of you think this is dangerous? Yeah? Okay, okay. People are more scared of fire than of tigers. That's a good thing to know. But one thing to note in all these images is that they are all, as you've seen, they're all not real. There is a scenario and then they add all these dangerous things later. But I want to do a recap before I get into this how to get down in dangerous on what we talked about last week. So we said in order to start a fire or to have dangerous prayers, you need like 5 things. Faith, intent, righteousness, empathy, and sincerity. So I'm going to break this down and I'm going to use the Lord's Prayer. I believe we all know the Lord's Prayer, yes? No? Okay, it's going to be put up for those who do not know it. So to start off, there is, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Do not lead us into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. So I'm going to break it down using the 5 points we learned last week. Starting off with faith. We said a prayer that has faith is a prayer that is offered with faith that God is, that He is the hearer and answer of prayers, and that He will come through on His promises. And you take this phrase, Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. So we believe that He is the one, that He is our Father. He's mine, He's your Father, we are His children. And the end of Acts 17:28 says we are His offspring. Matthew 7:9-11 says, Or what man is there among you who, if his son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a serpent, a snake in this case. If you, which is us then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask Him? And the reverse, I believe, is true. If your son came and said, Hey mom, I'm feeling hungry, do you have a snake or two? You'd be like, no, you give him fish. Or if your son came and said, I'm feeling really, can we have rocks for breakfast? You say, no, you give him bread. So I believe the reverse is true. And I think faith and the point of our Father in heaven is so strong because we have to believe that He is our Father. And it is very strange if any of you would walk out after the service and see the little kids running around and just be like, hey son, or hey daughter, and see how many of these kids would run to you and embrace you. Unless you're Adam Foyer, of course, because he works in the nursery. And so maybe the kids would just run to him. But even the kids understand that this is someone who's taking care of me as my parents are someone. And you can see the face of the kid is like, where's dad? She seems to be looking out for someone. And so the kid or the children believe with all their heart that this is my father and this is my mother. And if you've ever worked in nursery, at the end when the parents come to get their kids, immediately the attention of the child changes when they see the parent. Immediately they're like, Mom, Dad, you can see they know who their father is. And these are like maybe 1-year-olds, 1.5. You don't even have to tell them that this is your mom or this is your dad. They know. They believe. Even if the dad was going to, go up a mountain and tie them up and try to sacrifice them, and then God sends a ram just in time, they wouldn't question. They'll be like, maybe this is a game. They trust entirely. And so I believe we also have to have that. And that's where faith comes in this portion. And then intent. Prayer offered with unhesitating submission to God's will. In this phrase, it says, Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So before I request, so we've started with acknowledging that He's our Father. And then before you even ask for anything, you recognize before you request, you recognize that it's His will that should be done. Not your will, not what you want, but His will. I preset my intentions to align with God's format. So if there's something I want to pray for, but I recognize God's will is superior above my own, even the things that are within me that I do not want to pray for, I will be convicted to pray for. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. Proverbs 16:1-3 says, to humans belong the plans of the heart, but from the Lord comes the proper answer of the tongue. All a person's ways seem pure to them, but motives are weighed by the Lord. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans. On empathy, although it wouldn't spell fire, it now spell like fierce or something. But on empathy, prayer is a prayer that is about the other person as much, if not more, as it is about me. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. So it's me and all of us, equal in request. Give to us, measure to us all. As we measure to others, do to us as we do unto others. So, I don't know, I didn't even have breakfast. I don't know what's going on. So this portion here, it says give us as we give to others. If you were to put yourself in the other person's shoes, that you think this person has done a really bad thing to me, how could they do that? I'm never going to talk to them again, And this happens a lot, and we might not think it does. We might think, oh, I'm a Christian, I've already forgiven them. It happens to us because we always have this thing to always think the other person is the worst. If it's an argument, it's always the other person's fault. And most of the time you think of all the smart things you could have said to them after the argument is done. But you always think it's the other person. But if you were to put yourself in the other person's shoes and say, would I want the other person to have resentment, or would I want to be forgiven? And then you say, okay, if I would want to be forgiven, then I should probably forgive. And if you think like, but that's probably not really, you don't really have to forgive. Well, Matthew 6:14 says, for if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. And I believe there is a reason why, even after the Lord's Prayer, this portion was insisted. Because I think it's so difficult for us to be empathetic in things like this. When you are sure, like, but how could they do that? I am such a good person. How would they say that about me? But you've been called to forgive. Righteousness, prayer based on the morality of the kingdom of God relating to the totality of life, inward and outward. In the section, do not lead us into temptation, but deliver us from evil. So it says, kingdom of God relating to the totality of life, inward and outward. Righteousness is not just about what you see. Like I believe everyone here, before you come to church, I believe it could not be true. Some of you probably just woke up like that. But some of us don't wake up like this. We have to wake up and shower and then go in the mirror and check, is this shirt right? It doesn't match with my child. You go back and you're like, you even choose your socks, which nobody sees, but you're like, these don't go. So for some of us, we like to, create a very good image. But with righteousness, it says inward and outward. And sometimes we take this image we create physically and put it even in our prayer life. We pray about the things people will see. We pray about success. We pray about a new job. We pray about a new car. We pray about I need a boyfriend, or I need a girlfriend, or things like that. But then there's things within us that are crippling us from the inside that we don't want to recognize. And righteousness says inward and outward. And it says, do not lead us into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. So this portion says, keep us from what can and will make us unrighteous, and help us pursue righteousness. 1 Corinthians 10:13 says, no temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. So although the phrase, I know how you feel, or I know what you're going through, is kind of cliche, it could mean, I know what you're going through because, men go through that. Like it's common to humankind in an extent. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. So in case you are thinking, oh, my life is so hard, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get out of this? The word says that whatever you're going through is perfect for you because you're the only one who can deal with it. If it was probably given to me, I probably would have fallen a long time ago. But you are able to bear it, and that's why that load has been put on you. And it says he will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear, but when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. It's not like he's just going to press a load and see when it's going to break. Is it going to break? Is it going to break? Is it going to break? No. There's always going to be a way out. And after I read this, I realized, okay, so most of the times that I have fallen into temptation, or which has led to sin, it's not that I had no way I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. There was always a way out. But the choice I made was the choice not to pursue it. I didn't choose the way out, because it says he will also provide a way out. And it says here, do not lead us into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. So it is our job to accept the deliverance. If we'll be like, oh no, thank you, no deliverance today, I think I'm just going to sit here, then it's upon us. And then finally, sincerity, an honest prayer. For yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Before Jesus stated the Lord's Prayer, he said this as an intro in Matthew 6, 5-8. And when you pray, you shall not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the corners of the streets. So you might say, oh, but we came to church today, and as we were singing, we were all standing up, in the synagogue, raising our hands. So are we being hypocrites? No, because it says that they may be seen by men. So these people do these things not to communicate with God, but I will pray here and now so that Eno can see me and later be like, Edgar, that guy can pray. I pray for likes. I pray for views. It says, assuredly I say to you, they have their reward. But when you pray, go into your room. And when you have shut your door, pray to the Father who is in secret place. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. And when you pray, do not use vain repetitions as the heathens do, for they think they will be heard for their many words. Therefore, do not be like them, for your Father knows the things you have need before you ask him. Whatever it might be, he already knows before you ask him. So it's not like the more I say it, the more he will hear, or the more I say it, then he will hear. He already knows. He already knows the things that you know about you. He already knows the things that your friends know about you. He already knows the things that you don't tell your friends about you, that you don't tell your brother or your parents, or that you're not even honest about with yourself. He already knows them. So be sincere. The Lord's Prayer is an honest prayer, since it is addressed to God and requests him, admitting that he is, and it is in him that we live, move, and have our being. Now, after all this, we are like thinking, okay, this is some pretty good stuff, but then how do you actually apply it? Like, how do I take this, and where can I see it actually happening? And on just this point of being honest and being sincere and praying in secret, when you read the word, like when you read the story of Moses, you'd be like, this guy prayed a lot, yeah? But I think you only know that he did what he did because it is written. If he didn't, people would have thought Moses likes hiking because he's always going up the mountain, he's coming back. Like maybe he likes to go hiking and he writes stuff and he comes back. The word tells us what he experiences there. But he would go and do it, or he would enter the Holy of Holies. You know about it because it is written. If it wasn't written, someone would think, Moses likes staying in this tent. I wonder what he does, So you see that the prayers that were done in secret, but the outcome, what God responded was much greater in public. So I'm going to give you a story of a practical danger, something that you can apply, or a story of someone that you can apply. So this guy sitting there under the tree, looking all down, is Elijah. He looks a bit sad, I would think, like Magufuli is about to tumbua him or something, like he's heard rumors that the president is coming after him. But I want to tell you why he looks like this and why he's sitting here. So I'm going to tell you a story about Elijah from 1 Kings chapter 19. So after 3 years of drought, which Elijah prayed for and happened, King Ahab was desperate for rain, and he had animals, and they were like starving. It's like, when are we going to rain? So he sent one of his generals called Obadiah to go and look for a place where there's water. And Obadiah was the guy who served the king, Ahab, but on the side, he was like, he was protecting God's people, but he was also serving Ahab, who was kind of killing them. And so Obadiah sends him out, go and look for water, and then on his way, Obadiah meets Elijah. And Elijah's like, hey, Obadiah, go and tell your king that I'm here, And Obadiah's like, what? Mr. Elijah, if I tell God has this thing of making people disappear in one place and appear somewhere else, you're going to be safe. I'm still going to be here. Ahab's going to kill me. Elijah's like, no, just go and tell him. And I want you to notice Elijah's confidence in all this. Just tell Ahab, I'm here, I caused all this, tell him to come. So Ahab comes over and is like, you're the one who's causing trouble. He's like, no, you're the one who's causing trouble because you led the people astray, and the people have forsaken God's commandments and are worshiping Baal. So then he's like, okay, Mr. Ahab, here's what we're going to do. You bring your 400 prophets of Baal and your 450 prophets who eat at Jezebel's table, and we're going to have a little battle. like a hip-hop battle, but prayer battle kind of thing. So you're going to have your guys, they're going to do their thing, and I'm going to do my thing, I'm going to see what happens. And so the people hear about this, and they're like, okay, this is a good idea. And they meet at a mountain. And Elijah tells the people that if God is real, follow God. If Baal is real, follow Baal. But the people are indecisive. And so everyone meets here at the mountain, and then the prophets of Baal build the altar, they take a bull, they put it on, and then they start praying and praying and praying and praying and praying. And then Elijah is now even taunting them. He's like, oh, he's probably meditating. Or he's probably asleep. Or maybe he went to Mbudia, who knows? You guys better shout louder, because your God doesn't seem to be doing anything. Then the guys keep doing it, they increase, they whip themselves, they get bloody and everything. And then Elijah's like, okay, enough guys, chill out, now it's my turn. And then he builds an altar with 12 stones representing the tribes of Israel. And then he tells, okay guys, is there meat? Okay, bring water. They put it once, again, 3 times they put 4 barrels of water until a trench he had dug around it was full. At this point, I would like to advise you guys, if you're going to invite God for a barbecue, be very careful. And then he prays to the Lord and says, the Lord is God. He says, let everyone know today that you are God in Israel and that I am your servant. And the fire of God falls down and eats up the bull, the wood, the stones, and the water in the trench. No more barbecue for you. So here, Elijah called on God. These other people, Elijah built an altar, just for a way to remember it well. Elijah built an altar, the other prophets built a grill, The altar fire came from above and burnt everything. The grill, there was no God who would light it. You would have to have man's effort there. So they were praying in vain. And so Elijah does this. All the people are like, oh my gosh, Elijah. They go to Elijah, worship your God. Elijah's like, okay, don't let these prophets get away. Seize them. Takes them to the river, slaughters 180 people. This is Elijah. Okay, he just called down fire. He just taunted for 850 people. He just slaughtered 850 people. And then he tells Ahab, you can go and eat and drink because I think rain is finally going to come. And then he goes and prays. And it says that 7 times, more than 7 times, he told his servant to go and look if rain was coming. And on the 8th time, which was the 7th time he had told him to go back, he saw a cloud coming. And then heavy rains came, and Elijah hightails into the city of Jezreel, getting in just before Ahab does. So Ahab had already left to go. It's like you are in Morogoro. Ahab leaves Morogoro for Dar because it's going to rain, and when it rains in Dar, there's so much traffic. So he tells Ahab, you better rush and go. But then Elijah manages to run from Morogoro to Dar before Ahab does with his horses. Some saying bold stuff was going on there. And so at this point, you're like, wow, Elijah, he used a simple prayer, short prayer, got such a big impact. He didn't have to do what these other prophets were doing, which they prayed for like an entire day. But his prayer was intentional, it was faithful, it was righteous, it was empathetic, because he wants the people to know who God is. He knows who God is. He's good, but he doesn't want it to stop there. It's not that, oh, well, I'm saved, so it's okay. He wants the people to know who God is as well. And then at this point as well, we see that Elijah is he's a mighty prayer warrior. If he was at the ocean, he'll probably lead the prayer group. He'll be like, yeah, you're the guy, Elijah. And then we also see how 7 times he asked his servant to go and look for rain. In the previous verse, we read about vain repetition. And it is important to differentiate between vain repetition and persistence. Persistence is what Elijah had. Because the word also says, knock, and it will be open. It even says that if the person you're knocking at will not open just to give you what you need, out of your shameless audacity, he would wake up to give you what you need. Persistence is what Elijah had. So at this point, you think Elijah's a pretty dangerous man. Like, his prayers are the bomb. Like, if you need something to happen, you talk to Elijah. Fast forward, when Ahab tells Jezebel about what Elijah did, Jezebel says, let the gods kill me. The gods that Elijah says are not real. Let the gods kill me if I fail to do to Elijah what Elijah did to our prophets. Guess what Elijah does? This mighty prayer warrior who has killed 850 men, called down fire. Elijah goes into hiding in the wilderness. He sits down under a tree and tells the Lord that he thinks it's about time he died. So he's running away from being killed so that he can go and die. That is why he's right there. That's why Elijah's at this point. And then, dangerous Elijah now is all of a sudden, I want to die, Elijah. And I believe some of us have been here before. From a great victory, a great conquer, you're like, that prayer session was intense, I feel God's movement. And then the next moment, we have great despair. But I think it is good and important for us to remember that it is God who is winning the battles. It is not us. It is not by our own strength that these things are changing. It is God who's winning the battles, and we should trust that his divine will is right. Whether we are up on a mountain, calling down fires, or hiding under a tree, it's God who's winning the battles. So Elijah falls asleep, and an angel wakes him up twice and tells him to eat because he has a long journey ahead of him. So for 40 days and 40 nights, he walks to Horeb, and when he gets there, he finds a cave and sleeps, and then the Lord comes and says, Elijah, what are you doing? And Elijah explains, well, I've been really loyal to you, Lord, but the Israelites are breaking your covenants and tearing down your altars and killing your prophets. I'm the only one left now, and they're trying to kill me, so I'm hiding out here. Elijah was honest. He was sincere. He didn't just say, oh, I like the mountain view. I'm thinking of moving up here, because God already knows. Do you think God asked Elijah because God was, I wonder what Elijah's doing here today? No, he already knew, but Elijah was honest. And the Lord tells Elijah to go and stand on the mountain because the Lord is going to be there. Before he has a chance to go out, a furious wind passes by the cave and tears up the rocks on the mountain. But the Lord is not in the wind. Then an earthquake comes and shakes the cave, but the Lord's not in that either. Then fire comes, but still no Lord. And I think sometimes we look for God where we want him to be and not where he is. We expect him to be in the fire and in the breaking rocks. And so if there's no rocks breaking, can this really be God? We fix our focus of God on the physical evidence, on the signs, and not on God's actual presence. And Jesus did warn about that. A generation that would be looking for signs in order to believe, instead of knowing who God is. So finally, Elijah hears a sound of sheer silence. And in verse 12 it says, a still small voice. He wraps his face in a cloak and walks to the mouth of the cave. Again, he hears the voice ask, what you doing, Elijah? Again, he answers the same thing that he said before. So the Lord then tells Elijah, go back to the wilderness of Damascus. On his way, he should anoint Hazael as king of Syria, Jehu as king of Israel, and Elisha, I don't know what that was, and Elisha as the prophet that will take Elijah's place. The Lord says, whoever escapes Hazael's sword will be killed by Jehu, and whoever escapes from Jehu's sword will be killed by Elisha. He says there are still 7,000 people left in Israel that don't worship Baal. And so from Elijah's honesty, that I'm afraid of this, and I feel I'm alone, and this, he poured himself out. God dealt with everything he said and provided for him, and said there are still 7,000 people left who don't worship Baal. So when we think we know it all, we still need to remember to trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Not facts, because once you accept God, you are accepting the supernatural. You cannot accept God and deny the supernatural. If you're denying the supernatural, then you are not submitting to God with all your heart. You are leaning on your own understanding to some extent, because you're like, but really? I know he brought fire down from heaven, but can he really save me from Jezebel? That's where Elijah was. God then leads him to a helper and a successor, Elisha. And in Psalms 121, 1-2, it says, I lift up my eyes to the hills. From where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord, who made the heavens and earth. And that's what we talked about today. We sang about today. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, not from the mountains and the hills. And I like what Pastor Pam read about the hills surrounding Jerusalem. You would think that the protection from the hills is just because people would see a big mountain and say, oh wow, I don't want to go over that. But because they are a mountain, they have to stop the winds, and they have to stop the impact, or soften the impact, so that whatever is being protected is protected. Some of us want to be, we don't want to be touched by anything. We just want evil or trouble to see us and flee. But the point is in evil coming to us, touching us, and we being able to bear it and pursue it and overcome it. That is the point. And if you do not believe me, there is a verse that's coming for you. So, I'm going to conclude again with this image of people, looking like they're afraid of the green screen. So they look at you see them in the green screen, they're like, they have the expressions or the emotions of fear. But they're acting, and then later on, the fire is added as effects, right? So whatever they're doing there is without the fire. So if I was to ask you a question like, for example, if a lion was to walk in, right now. Instead of just walking down the sound. All of you guys, look, you're still here. Some of you even just laid back and you're like, yeah, lion. But if a lion really walked in here, I doubt any of you would even have heard the next sentence I said. I would be so surprised how this large number of people can just get out of 2 doors, It'll be like record-breaking exit of all you people. And so with this image, it's how when I say imagine a lion, and you're like, oh, that'll be frightening. And you can even imagine how you would run out, where you would jump, how you would get over that step, how you would avoid being trampled by people. You can all have it in your mind, but you don't move in the real sense. And so with our prayers, I feel like sometimes it's like that. We pretend there is like a fire, So we pretend to feel the heat and we pretend to be blinded, but it's not really there. We do not want the real thing. We do not want to actually feel the heat. We do not actually want to see the fire to blind us. We are like the people who just want a green screen because it's safer. It is safer for someone else to come and put fire. So I will do things or say things that will make me look like, but I am afraid to actually be real because maybe God might tell me something I don't like. Or maybe God might lead me somewhere I don't want to go. And so we just prefer the green screen. So in our pursuit and engagement of dangerous conversations, let us speak with God and not just at Him. Let us listen to His voice, not give Him one. Do not put words in His mouth. Do not say, I feel God is telling me to do this. But is He telling you? Well, I sort of kind of feel He is. No. I want to do it, so now I'm gonna be like, so God, you got this, right? This is what we're gonna do. Not like that. And dare to face the fire, and not just an image of it. Take in the heat and the blinding light. So for those who I said there's a verse for you, here's the verse. Matthew 15, 8-9 says, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Their teachings are merely human rules. Do you guys know those people? Have you come across those people? Who worship the Lord with their lips, but their hearts are far from them. Do you know those people? In case you don't know them, just look to your left and your right, and in front of you, we are all here. We've all been in a place where what we say and how we act in front of people, again, the image on the outside, isn't what is on the inside. But God knows what is on the inside. So what is the point of hiding? What is the point of being dishonest to someone who already knows? It's like when you have kids who have eaten sugar and they have all the sugar crumbs, and then you ask them, did you eat sugar? Nuh-uh. Mm-mm. And you're like, really? Yeah. No. And then you're like, you just tell them, go and look in the mirror. You don't even punish them. And then when they go in the mirror, they're like, oh my gosh, it's been here all along. Let your response be authentic. Be open to God's will and sincerely present to Him your requests. Matthew 7:7-8 says, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and who seeks finds. And to him who knocks it will be opened. This is an action verse. Don't just wish it. Pursue to realize it. I believe most of our daily troubles are based on how we live. We're like, our jobs, our situations, our relationships, and unless someone else here has like friends on Mars or Jupiter or another interstellar dimensions or the guardians of the galaxy, and you need to pray for them, then maybe your prayers are not just worldly. But most of our troubles are from the earth, right? And you might say that, Edgar, it's so easy to come to church and you stand up there and you just say these things, and everything's okay. But on Monday, there is work, there's the government, there is, the contracts, there's people, like real life gets to you. And how do you overcome this? There is real marriage struggles, or there is relationship struggles. You say there is real life out there. Well, I don't know what to say to that, but I know what Jesus says in John 16:33. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world, you will have trouble. So there it is. Jesus said there'll be trouble. So at least you can be like, oh, at least I'm still alive, because as long as there's trouble, you're still in this world. But take heart. He did not just leave and say, oh, you will have a hard life. Goodbye. He says, but take heart, I have overcome the world. And it is because of that reason that we believe. Otherwise, what will be the difference between us and someone who doesn't believe? If we're just the same, like there's no hope for them, there's no hope for us. It's just like, oh, I just have a place to go on Sunday to get free coffee and some cakes from Soul Treats, I think. That is not the point. So when we pray, we find assurance and strength in His promises. We can prove what we believe because He has declared it from His word. If you do not know how to pray, you can pray what He has declared. He has said that you will have trouble, but He says, take heart because He has overcome the world. You You can pray because you know his promises are true. You can pray from the word because it is written. It isn't by the statement of any man, but of the word. For it is written, so take heart, he has overcome the world. So God is real. He is faithful. He knows us more than we know ourselves. He is good. Let us give it into him totally and completely. He has nothing to lose, but we have everything to gain. And finally, my brethren, from Ephesians 6:10-13. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, not just the shiny parts, not just the flashy parts. Put on the whole armor of God. And I will dare to say this. When you get ready in the morning, I believe for most of us, unless you are very, you just want to be natural. But for most of us, we put on underwear, do we not? But you cannot say, because nobody's going to see it, why should I put it on? Like, I have socks on right now, but I'm not going to say, it's not because I want to show it, It's not because I want everyone to see my socks. Or even if I had like 3 vests underneath. It's not because, even when you go and choose what you're going to wear underneath your clothes, you are selective. Nobody's going to see it, but still you're like, I like this color, I like this color. So if you're going to put on all of that, which nobody will see, which the color doesn't matter, how much more should we be concerned about putting on the full armor of God? That we may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, unless it's WWE, but against the principalities, against the powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God again. Not what looks good at work. You're like, the helmet looks good at work, but the sword is going to be, people are going to think I'm weird. I'm just going to leave this behind. No, you have to take on the full armor of God, that you may be able to withstand the evil day, and having done all, to stand.